In this video, we'll be walking through the creation of a quantitative comparison graph. We will focus specifically on some tips and tricks for using shortcuts in Excel. To start things off, let's say that we have 6 known concentrations of calcium, and from here we want to compare our average result to a true value given to us by the professor. First, we want to find the average calcium concentration. We do this by clicking on the cell where we want our average to appear, and type in equals average into the formula bar. Notice how a small box pops up when you start typing. You can click on one of these suggestions rather than typing out all of it to save a bit of time. So we double click on average and highlight the pertinent concentration values. Now our standard deviation. Type equals STDEV into the cell and highlight the same cells as you did before. You hit enter. Remember, your standard deviation tells you how precise you were in your measurements. The smaller the number, the greater your precision. Finally, we want to find our relative standard deviation. This value pretty much tells you the same thing as your standard deviation, but it gives it to you in a percentage format. So you highlight the cell you want. Now we want to type in the formula bar equals our standard deviation divided by our average multiplied by 100. Follow that by clicking enter. So now that we have our calcium concentration, we now need to create our graph. Since we are comparing the known value to the true given value, we must first place them in a table, as shown here. This will make things much simpler when it comes to creating your graph. First off, we want to highlight the known label and value. Hit Control and then the true label and value and click Insert. From Insert, you click Column Graph and select the graph that you want. Now, let's format this graph to make it more informational. First, make sure the graph is highlighted. You can delete the legend since we don't need that for this type of graph. Now go up to the tabs and click Layout, and find the chart title. Type your title into the function bar. For this, we'll use calcium concentration. Now go back up to the axis title, click on Primary Horizontal Axis Title, type in what we are measuring. For this experiment, it is sample type. Back up to the axis title, click on Primary Vertical Axis Title, and then click on Rotated. Type in what we are measuring. For this case is calcium concentration. Make sure to put the measurement value surrounded by parentheses. Finally, we want to place error bars on this graph in order to show our precision level. Click on one of these columns, then go up to the layout. Click error bars and then more error bar options. Now we need to make sure our settings are correct. We want the error bar to go both directions and have caps on the ends. Now select Specify Value. Here's where it gets a little tricky. A true value has no positive or negative limits, but in order for Excel to correctly apply the standard deviations, we must give it some value, and it must be next to the known one, not below it. This is why our 0 is placed where it is. For our positive error limit, you want to highlight the known standard deviation and the 0 in the cell next to it. Then we will repeat this action for the negative limit. Now click OK and close. From here, you can tweak the size, color, and etc. Once your graph looks the way you want it, highlight the whole graph, use Ctrl-C, and then go to your Word document and click Ctrl-V to transfer it.
For more tips and tricks to making good quality Excel graphs, we suggest the following 2 resources.